Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Apparently, and I don't know the full details of what's going on, but I heard like bits and pieces about him, like potentially being abusive, and I didn't like I didn't know enough about what was going on, but it was enough for me to like, you know, sever ties.
I am so disgusted and disappointed and blown away by I'm just I'm I'm blown away. And there's just no excuse for it because the reality is Alex knows better. The vanguard
will be there, sir. Yeah, so I mean, this is still a story that's kind of in development. I mean, it's not like there's been an actual ton of like real reporting on it. From what I've seen, I'm kind of basing off my information off of what I've seen on Twitter. But based on the way people close to Lolo have responded to this, I find it to be pretty damning. I find it to be pretty incriminating because basically none of his friends or associates are defending him. So you know, if people like Hasan or Olay, who you know briefly had a podcast with him, if they had come out and been like, you know, this guy is being smeared, let's hear his side of the story. If that had happened, I would have been like, you know what, let's wait and see where this goes. Unfortunately, that did not happen, Zach. And we're gonna take a look at Hasan's response, but it was pretty brutal. But before we get into that, you know, there was a couple tweets. This person Marina on Twitter says a content creator threatened me saying if they ever a content creator threatened me saying if they ever hurt me, I would be powerless because more people like them, and it would be so easy to call me a liar and ruin my life. And then later that person added that this is about LOL Overruled. And if you guys aren't familiar, LOL Overruled was a big TikTok account. Had more of a presence on TikTok than YouTube, although he did pop up on some YouTube and Twitch shows, including Hasan's. He got a lot of clout from being a good friend of Hasan. He would often travel with Hasan, pop up in pictures with him. I referenced it, but he also briefly had a show with friend of the show, Olayemi Olurin. But yeah, he was kind of this like legal left-wing TikTok account.
His TikTok was funny.
It was very funny. Yeah. He often blew up. And I'm not going to lie, guys, maybe the most heartbreaking thing about this is not, you know, the fact that I was a big fan of his contributions to legal left-wing TikTok or whatever, but he actually put out this banger fucking video. No, it was this parody of Dune 2, and it was like the giant sandworm, but talking in Trump's voice.
Oh, I do remember.
It was like he calls himself the Muad'Dib, or whatever the hell. Anyway, that was one of the funniest TikToks I've ever seen. I probably watched that 1,000 fucking times. The pesky Paul. So it's a real bummer because yeah, Lolo was not only a good TikToker, but very funny guy and seemingly a wholesome dude. This was a total shock to me. We can take a look at a couple other examples over here. Some of the responses, people, you know, pointing out that he's a sex pest and serial abuser. Again, I'm not sure about all of these various accounts, but it seems like the consensus is pretty overwhelming. And in a second, Zach, we can take a look at his since deleted apology.
Yeah. So at first I was like, well, we you know, cards on the table. We have hit this guy up once. We were going to have him on our show. That was my only interaction with him as an individual. And I was like, hey man, love your TikTok. Would you be interested in coming by for 25-30 minutes? He said, sure, no problem. I said, great. When do you want to schedule that? And he never responded to that or my just circling back about this a week later. You know what I mean? So cards on the table. That was our interaction. But now everybody is out here, you know, posting the receipts of, you know, bad takes. I guess there was a burner account that people say belongs to him. I imagine it does because he did not refute that in his apology, where it's not LOL overruled. And people have been posting screenshots from that account that are incredibly damning. And, you know, Gavin and I, we have a pretty firm podcast policy where it's like, hey, we believe women when they come forward. We believe people who are victims when they come forward, especially when it's a difficult situation. This is a guy with a lot of clout who has allegedly, you know, been very explicit in how he intends to misuse it. And it really pisses me off, right? I was talking about this earlier, but it just kind of feeds the fire for right wingers. Like Joe Rogan used to do this bit that was admittedly kind of funny, but it was problematic as well, right? And he would talk about how you should, like, ladies, you should never trust a man that calls himself a feminist, right? Watch your drink around him. He's got an agenda, right? Because he's trying to get your guard down so he can fuck you later. You know what I mean? And there's this weird trope.
I've met a lot of men that are like that.
Yeah, there's this weird trope of people on the left who are just actually closet predators, right? Like they're just looking for a way to camouflage themselves, and so they're appropriating left-wing causes. They're usually psychopaths, and so they just understand what everybody wants them to say. They have no moral compass. They're just using their politics as cover so that they can indulge in whatever like narcissistic fantasy that they want. And it's a huge problem on the left. Okay. It's actually not a fake problem. It's something that we have to address head on, and we have to call out when we see it. When I saw all of this evidence come out at once, and then I also read his like fucking apology or whatever, I was like, this is not good. This is not good. And unless something comes out to like clear his name, like I just think that you could probably, justify saying this guy's not an ally to the left.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he has serious work to do. It's always tough because, there are people that have made comebacks. Like we were just reacting to Andrew Callahan's content a couple days ago. Like, it's not like I think that guy should just stay in prison for the rest of his life and never make a video again because of the things he allegedly did, which we commented on the time and which I totally condemned. So I'm not saying there is like no path to redemption for people to do bad things, but it's going to take a lot of, owning up and fessing up and hard work. Let's take a look at that apology that you just mentioned, Zach, because this was quickly deleted. And a lot of people, did not think that this really, the thing with these apologies is like, no matter what you post, people are going to roast you. People are going to nitpick the fuck out of it. There's really no good way to, address or apologize for this other than just be like, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I'm deleting my account and checking into therapy. But trying to justify it with all these words or trying to kind of beat around the bush. He says, there's a lot of things being said about my behavior. I am absolutely embarrassed and ashamed of myself in many instances and have been a real asshole. I don't deny that at all. I know many people are disappointed, and I am disappointed in myself. I have hurt people emotionally, and I regret it immensely. Could have probably stopped it there.
Yeah.
He goes on to say, I want to clarify some things. Yes, I've slid into a lot of people's DMs. I didn't really think that is a huge deal, but it's clear I did not fully grasp how some people could feel about that or even think that I was some kind of famous person, which I have honestly never really felt about myself, and honestly felt like a random internet side character. Oh, he has imposter syndrome.
No, he doesn't. It's performative imposter syndrome, right? And when people say he slid into their DMs, I slid into some DMs. People are saying he was sending them dick pics. Okay, unsolicited dick pics is the accusation here. So
has that actually been
that was the accusation? Yes, the accusation was that he took a picture of his hog while he was in the bathtub and sent it to a sex worker Twitter account in her DM, and she was like, "This is unacceptable."
Oh, we'll have to pull that one up because I actually did not see that specific allegation. Either way, he goes on to say, no, I did not send photos, but it's possible there were miscommunications and conversations misread, but I take full responsibility for making people uncomfortable. Again, this is not meant to be an exhaustive apology. It really isn't. I am sorry to the people I've made uncomfortable or hurt emotionally. I know it doesn't matter to some someone. I know it doesn't matter to some once that I don't want to be a piece of shit guy. I have been. I think the way I have acted has not been in line with my character and does not reflect the kind of man I want to be. I am seeking help to better myself. I am sorry it took so long. This is not a full apology, and it isn't meant to be. I still need some time to figure out how to do that and what that looks like. There's a lot being said about my behavior. I am absolutely embarrassed and ashamed of myself in many instances and have been a real asshole. I don't deny that at all. Many people are disappointed. I think at that point I'm rereading the original post, but either way, I mean, he's definitely fessing up to being a real asshole here, seemingly more than just like, sliding into some people's DMs with an innocent hello. It seems like something slightly more predatory was going on here, which checks out given that post that we were reacting to a second ago, Zach, where the individual was saying that, they were basically threatened and that LolOverruled told them that because I'm a big content creator, no one will believe you. So to me, that's where it really gets damning. And again, if it was just like the Harry Sisson thing, remember Harry Sisson got like, oh, he he was basically dating a bunch of women at once, and he told this one woman that they were exclusive, but it turns out he had a side piece. Like that kind of shit I don't really care about. It's kind of just like gossip. It's like it might be kind of shitty, but it's nothing even remotely criminal. Not that I saw, at least. This actually does seem like there might be some genuine like predatory behavior afoot, specifically with the threats. And if you found any more about it, potentially unsolicited nude photographs.
So my bad. The tweet I saw had described it as a bathtub pic. It looks like in this article from the Tribune, it says one woman, Marina, stated that Peter, or Alex Peter is his name, once claimed he could ruin her life because others liked him more, while another, Jessica Starling, shared that he had sent an explicit video of himself during a massage exchange. Starling, a sex worker, described the act as an example of sex pest behavior, criticizing the influencer for exploiting his online platform. Yeah, so he sent an unrequested dick pic of himself, or rather an explicit video of himself is what it's defined as. I imagine it featured his penis. That's why it was.
So that's the same person on screen right now, Marina?
No, this is Jessica Starling, another victim who is a sex worker.
Gotcha.
And I don't believe they're on Twitter. That's why when I got the information, it was by another account that said a woman came forward saying that he sent an unsolicited dick pic. But it also looks like Olayemi Olurin, his former host, has addressed the allegations on Twitter, which I'm just seeing now. I haven't looked at her response yet, but
yeah, we can definitely take a look at that right now if you're ready. And also, we keep calling this guy by his internet pseudonym. His real name is, I think, Peter, right?
Alex
Peter. Okay. He has two first names. What the hell? Either way, let's take a look at what Olay has to say, because Olay briefly co-hosted a podcast on YouTube with Alex. Since all of this has dropped, every episode has been deleted.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Alex has been, or LOL overruled to most of y'all on the internet, has been my friend since about 2020, especially in a public capacity, right? Like, so I feel like as much as I cannot express y'all how much I hate having to come on the internet and like speak negatively about somebody that I have had a personal relationship with. Like, even where like Alex and I have never had a perfect friendship. I have always had my thoughts and stuff like that, but I would never, I do not believe in publicly talking negatively about people that I have interpersonal relationships with. That being said, this is way beyond that. And I feel like it is egregious to have a kind of public facing friendship like this. And for it to be publicly known now that your friend is like, sex pest doesn't seem, it feels insufficient. It feels woefully insufficient to describe not just like what people are talking about now and he's being publicly accused of, but like what I am hearing behind the scenes is the case. Like, to echo some of what Hasan's sentiments were in the video that he was hearing about him being abusive. Similarly, that is what I'm hearing about, and that is what I anticipate that the public is going to start hearing about more soon. And I don't have much that I could say other than like, I am so fucking disgusted and disappointed and blown away by, I'm blown away. And there's just no excuse for it, because the reality is Alex knows better. There's just no world. I see people floating around all these different like things, calling him like a sex addict and all these like different excuses and stuff that I'm like, I'm not sure where that's come from. It's like Alex and I are not best friends. Like, I don't know everything about the man, but I've known him I don't know the man to be a sex addict or any of these things. None of this has been presented to me. And I say that to say that feels deliberate, right? Like, he's an attorney. He is a leftist. He's all these different things. He is cognizant of exactly why what he would be doing with the things that he's being accused of, or what he has been doing, is wrong. He knows, period, point blank, the end of it. He also knows what the consequences are. He knows all these dynamics. There's nothing that he does not know. So there's just no excuses that could be made for him on that front. And as far as all this, and I can only come to the conclusion that he knows what he's doing because he's known who to show it to. I've never, in all my time, he's never told me this. You ain't never told me you in all kind of gals DMs sending them this, and the next thing. I mean, maybe I'm a shitty friend that I was not reading the Substack to know that this was how he was giving it up. Nigga. Oh my God. I there's just no excuse for it. There's just no excuse for it. The only thing I feel compelled to say, because I see like everybody framing it this way, is like every commentary, tweet, posts I see, people are like pinning it on, like they're making it this like thing about him being a leftist and oh the left, da da da, and not just like about that he's a leftist, because I think that's like, please point out the hypocrisy in somebody running around with this particular like political views and moral stance, and they're doing the exact opposite. Like, call hypocrisy what it is. But what I mean is, specifically, I see people kind of like blaming his audience, or like trying to like shame people who are fans of him, like, oh, this is what happens because y'all put leftist men on this pedestal and blah 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 blah, and this is because y'all weren't doing this, and this is because Alex did whatever the fuck Alex did. Don't put this on his audience. Don't put this on the left. Don't put this on none of that shit. The reality is people did not know. You cannot know what people ain't tell you. Like, they couldn't, what were they supposed to just say? Oh, well, he's a leftist guy. Must be a fucking pervert. Like, what, don't, please, let's everybody stay on focus. Like, call out and condemn the behavior. Focus it on Alex, but don't make this about his audience and moral grandstanding and shaming his, please, please, please. Just respect people. Like, listen to the stories as people start to come forward. Respect them. Y'all, I am so sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. And the fact that she alluded to other information that's even more damning, you know, beyond just like being creepy in a bunch of people's DMs, which is definitely unfortunate. But the fact that she's, you know, alluding to even worse abusive behavior behind the scenes, and the fact that she was willing to put out such a, you know, kind of just honest video about it, tells me that there's some really bad stuff that we're going to find out soon. Because as she said at the beginning of the video, and I totally agree with her, it's not like she wants to have to come out here and talk about someone who she's known privately for 5 years publicly. No one wants to do that. I would hate to have to do that about anyone that I know, specifically someone who already was dealing with like a bunch of negative attention online. Like, I would hate to like add to that, even if they were guilty of something. You know, if I know someone personally, I'd rather like deal with it interpersonally. The fact that she, you know, also feels that way, but felt that this rose to the occasion of having to put out a statement. Yeah, it's probably pretty bad. And I think that what we're going to see from Hasan next, you know, will further prove that.
Yeah, I feel bad for Olay. I feel bad for Hasan. You know, I didn't realize the extent that they were friends. You never really know if, I mean, she said they've been friends for 5 years. So you don't know the extent of anybody's relationship. But anybody that you've, you know, gone out for cocktails with, had a bite to eat with a few times, like, it fucking sucks, because you do consider somebody that you gotten to know in that way a friend, even if it's mostly because your careers have aligned yourselves together that way. You know, it's really brutal. I feel for her. And I feel for Hasan too, right? And she made a great point. She was like, how can you come out here and condemn his audience? What, are you just going to assume that he's a lying bastard? You're just going to assume that he's a damn pervert? Like, it's crazy, right? He seemed like a good guy, and that was so intentional. And that's something that people who are, you know, sex pests and abusers and, you know, God knows what else. I like a serial liar too. Like, I saw one person tweeting about how when they'd had sex, he lied and said that he was in a long-term open relationship just to, like, I don't know, add to his lore or make him seem more attractive, but it was the total lie. There was no other person. And I was like, people are just airing their laundry out with this guy, but that sure shit doesn't make you look good. Like, all of these things kind of add to the fact that you are, you know, not who you said you are, not who you presented yourself to be as a public figure. And so people are now changing their position around you. And, you know, just to share one more comment from Olay really quickly, I'll go ahead and zoom in because that's super hard to read for everyone. But this person asked Olayemi, do you know if he has friends talking to him about it and trying to guide him towards actual accountability instead of just walking away from him? As a survivor of this kind of harm myself, I feel like that's a hugely important thing. And she said, as far as I know, people are just cutting him off altogether. So yeah, it doesn't seem like he has many friends left in his corner.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty awkward situation to be in. I don't blame people like Olay for just cutting him off, and instead of being like, I need to try to fix him, or like, you know, he, according to Alex, he's checked into some therapy place. He was like some, you know, fancy Connecticut inpatient clinic or something. He was like, I'll be there until future notice. So I imagine that, yeah, he's already getting help of some sort. I don't really know what people like Olay or, you know, other online friends of his could offer in that department, other than just being like, hang in there, buddy. Don't kill yourself. I know that everyone is, bashing you online right now, but just really focus on bettering yourself. I mean, I guess a message like that could be helpful, but other than that, I don't really know what there is to say. And also speaking of, what Olay mentioned, as far as people in Alex's audience, I thought this was a pretty disgusting fucking tweet from Ethan Klein. Or not tweet, sorry, Instagram story. You know how Ethan is. He says, Hasan's best friend just outed as a freak. Lolo, more like, uh-oh. Sorry, Hasan. You will need a new token Jewish sidekick to validate your hate. I didn't even know this guy was Jewish, to be honest. I don't think that's why Hasan was friends with him. Like, oh, like this will show everyone who calls me anti-Semitic. Look at this friend of mine who's fucking Jewish. Like, I don't really think that was what was going on there. But I mean, just a not to fucking tone police, but it's pretty disrespectful, pretty inappropriate tone given the fact that there are actual victims speaking out right now about this man and his predatory behavior, to just make it about your stupid fake, beef with Hasan and your smear against him about anti-Semitism. Like, thanks for your fucking contribution, bro.
Yeah, it's humiliating. It's crazy. It's obviously disrespectful. Like you said, he has no concern for these people who are speaking out or who have been victims of Alex's behavior. And he's making it about somehow, okay, Alex is Jewish, which, weird thing to bring up at this time, as somebody who's very, concerned and always like triggered by, why is that being brought up? I'm just like, bro, nobody knew about that. Nobody cared about that. Obviously, he's a strong Palestinian ally. Or he pretended to be on the internet. Like, I don't know anything about this guy anymore, but yeah, it is crazy. It really just shows us that Ethan is capable of taking any circumstance and making it about himself.
Yep, 100%. Speaking of Hasan, Zach, you want to take a look at Hasan's commentary on this subject matter?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I haven't heard this yet.
Okay, let me fire it up here. Let me share with you the link just so my laptop doesn't start lagging.
Oh yeah, no worries. Fire in the hole.
Cool. Yeah, this is about like 4.
Sweet.
I don't know how much we need to react to, but you guys will get the point.
Sweet. Yeah, I think I saw a Twitter clip about this.
Gated today as hell today because of something related to Twitter. Have you checked Hostwit recently? No, I don't have Twitter on my phone, and therefore I do not look at Twitter when I'm not live. If it's related to Alex Lolo, then that's not drama. That's like straightforward creep shit. Okay, if that's what you guys are referencing as drama, you're a psycho. That's not drama at all. Apparently it was all up and down being a pest, and it's completely unacceptable. Yeah, and you guys are being ridiculous if you think that this is just drama. That's not just drama, dude. That's like, it's incredibly disappointing. It's not something that I was obviously privy to. I was completely oblivious to whatever the going on, and it's a betrayal of my trust. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. Apparently, and I don't know the full details of what's going on, but I heard like bits and pieces about him like potentially being abusive, and I didn't like I didn't know enough about what was going on, but it was enough for me to like, sever ties. And then past that point, now there's apparently a bunch of people that he was literally in the DMs of all up and down Twitter, like leftist Twitter accounts, public defenders, and even women in this community. Luckily, we have a pretty awesome community of adult women who can take care of themselves. But it seems like he was just sending unsolicited DMs and being creepy and pushy and a pest overall. Yeah, it's obviously completely unacceptable. I think he said that he's going to outpatient therapy now, but I don't know the extent of what's going on, like I said. But I hope everyone is all right. Anyway, but
It's even the
outside,
job of like one of the people that works there dealing with someone like Alex. Like, all right, just stop being creepy. Don't do that again.
Yeah,
Like, what does that therapy look like? You know, just delete Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm trying to be objective, right, and you've given me a patient, right, and I don't know fucking anything, right, so this is just my armchair, you know, diagnosis with very little information. Obviously, you would want to observe the patient, right? You would want to be like, clearly this person has a narcissistic personality disorder. Clearly, they're very interested in their ego. Clearly, they, are unconcerned by harm that's caused to other people as it relates to their most direct impulses, right? So those would be all things that you would need to unpack and really work on, right? Understanding how you have to take accountability, right? And how that's not the same as defending yourself, right? You have to, understand that there are people who are not going to forgive you for the things that you've done. And you have to understand that you're on a mission to, rebuild yourself as a person who is not going to live in the image of your past poor behavior, but is going to, live the best life that you can.
Sounds like you've been to one of these programs.
Yeah, well, basically, this is the spiel that you give people who go into regular rehab, right? Like, this is the kind of spiel that you get when you go into drug rehab. Yeah. This is what the kind of, when you're an alcoholic, they're going to talk to you about, like, those are the stages of recovery. I imagine it's pretty universal, even if you're going in there for like a personality disorder.
Yeah.
Obviously,
it's just,
you could probably treat addiction a lot easier than you could treat a personality disorder, but I don't fucking know.
Yeah. Obviously, I was just joking, but it's just weird because, like, I think Olay mentioned how like some people were trying to justify this behavior with sex addiction. Obviously, Russell Brand has done that. Like, I think there's something different, but I could see sex addiction being a real thing that people suffer from, but I don't think that it automatically makes you coercive or predatory. You could be a sex addict who's still 100% respectful of people's boundaries and of has an understanding of consent. You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't want to lump all sex addicts in here or even alcoholics because, like, again, totally normal people that are completely able to consent struggle with addiction and alcoholism.
Yeah, my through line there was the rehab facility.
Right.
Like, that's what draws all of those people there. Obviously, clearly, you're dealing with a different issue when it's addiction and that psychology. I just mean, like, when people think of going to a rehab facility, like, typically that's what the program is for. And I think there is overlap in terms of, like, hey, you fucked up your life really bad, you have to rebuild from here.
Yeah, I just want to have a fly on the wall because you said it's one of these super rich people places. It's like, well, that would just be a fascinating job. Your clients are super rich people that just got canceled on Twitter. Obviously, they're dealing with the mental health repercussions of the whole internet exposing them. But also, it's like, are they really interested in healing, or do they just want to regain their internet reputation? Like, how would you gauge the extent to which they were being genuine? I find that kind of interesting on a psychological level.
A24, finance us. We're respected filmmakers, and we've got a great idea to make you some money.
That could unironically be a fascinating film.
A great film, dude. Honestly, so much social commentary. They love shooting it at nice places. That's a grievance I have with Hollywood. Like, every single movie I'm watching, like, nobody has a regular fucking house anymore. Oh yeah, well, we're gonna go to my billionaire cousin's house. Like, not everybody knows a billionaire cousin.
Sorry Baby was pretty good at that. That had a lot of like normal working class kind of shit.
I fucking loved Sorry Baby. That's a great film. If it plays near you, please go see it. A spectacular debut. But and also about trauma, about a person who, is sexually assaulted. Obviously, that caveat should be known if you're going to, recommend it. So PSA to people. But anyway, I digress.
Either way, yeah. Do you want to keep watching the rest of this?
Sure, might as well.
Out of that, I don't know what else needs to be said. I
clearly,
I assume that people will. I assume that people will try to make try to tie this back to myself somehow and like actually turn it into drama when this is not drama. This is serious shit. But
foreshadowing exactly what Ethan would do as soon as he found out about it. He was like, he doesn't even mention him by name, but we all know who he was talking about.
Yeah, 100%. And Hasan, I mean, I can understand why Hasan is a little bit like why he seems worried about his own reputation too. Because obviously you guys know, Hasan's always leaned into like being an alpha male. He has like he'll have like OnlyFans models on his shows or like make a big donation to some OnlyFans models and shit. And, like, he'll kind of, that's part of his image. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So he definitely doesn't want people thinking like, oh shit, like now this guy who hangs out with all of these, pretty models and all these women constantly surrounded by chicks, like, oh shit, he's hanging out with abusers and predators? Is something dark going on? Like Hasan is someone who obviously, from everything I've heard, is a totally cool, genuine guy. He walks the walk. He's like, shit, like I don't want to get involved. I don't want people thinking that this how reflects on me and my behavior. It's a weird situation.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to obviously continue talking about the news. And you should also lock it.
Yeah, I feel like that is about what he had to say
Yeah.
in this clip.
Seems
wanted to
genuinely
make sure-
disturbed, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I would be pissed. I was talking to Gavin about this. We only have like a handful of people that I would consider real friends. Like, Hasan has had this dude in his house, right? And you have to think about that. Like, the level of friendship that you would have, like there are very few people, like only one person that I've met on the internet has been in this studio besides Gavin, and it was Griffin, right? And I'd be like, yeah, Griffin is my friend, right? But I would wager that I don't know how close Alex and Hasan were, but if you're in somebody's house, you've hung out, you've traveled together, you've done events together, you've ridden in Ubers together, and you find out about this, it would hurt, man.
They protested together. They were at those LA events.
And obviously Hasan does a great job about not making it about him, right? It's about the victims. He wants them to feel safe and secure to come forward. But as somebody who's analyzing Hasan's response, and I think he did a really good job coming out condemning it full-throatedly, saying this is disappointing, he betrayed my trust, I had no idea, I support the victims, I want them to have this platform to speak out and get whatever justice they're seeking. But as a person who would have considered him a friend, who would have been duped by the whole charade, here you are thinking, hell yeah, I have a progressive lawyer homie who understands the urgency of the situation in Palestine, who is an effective and articulate ally in that fight, is hilarious on TikTok, wants to put forward a socialist message, yada, yada, yada. This is awesome. Now we're tight. We're homies. We're doing all these things together. And you find out this is who he is. It would suck, man. It would be horrible. You would be devastated. You would be like, oh my God, I can't believe I spent all this time with this guy who I have no idea who he is now.
Yep. I feel like at this point, I'm almost never truly shocked when I find out that someone, some dirt on someone online. But yeah, if you actually know that person IRL, and you've had experiences with them that to you suggest they're a good person, yeah, you have to feel like you were had, like this person took advantage of you almost, like they came into your house, they came into your life, and they pretended to be someone they weren't. So even though you weren't directly the victim of their predatory behavior, you're kind of like, peripherally complicit because of the way that they roped you in. It's a fucked up situation to be a part of. And again, specifically for someone like Hasan, who has more clout and popularity than this Alex guy, he feels like probably like, oh shit, now more people know who this guy is. I elevated his profile and I probably expanded his social circle by hanging out with him and posting photos and stuff. So that's a whole other thing where honestly,
the clout.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I don't even fucking envy Hasan for having that level of like influence and shit. It's like if someone came on the Vanguard, I wouldn't have to fucking worry about blowing up their reputation or stuff like that. But Hasan does. It's like if Hasan has you on a show for a 2-hour long friendly interview or something, like he has to be aware that that's going to really make you give you a career, or at least a path to one.
Oh yeah, 100%. We used to talk about how Joe Rogan was the kingmaker at one point. Like if you go on his show, like there's a solid chance that if enough people like you, like overnight, you can have a successful podcast. You could make your career in an instant. I think Hasan has that kind of pull. I think if he think about the people that he does collaborate. He's very selective with who he collaborates with in person, right? And they're usually really, really sophisticated, like the Chapo guys or the Blowback guys. And then he'll have like Stavros on. He'll have like the Come Town guys come through who are huge and hilarious, right? That's the kind of level you have to be. Like Hasan Minhaj came and joined the show. So he's not just having whomever on. He had to personally think very highly of Alex, LOL Overruled. And so, he clearly was capable of manipulating people. He clearly was capable of pulling the wool over everyone's eyes, even in person, right? Because it's so easy to do over Twitter if you just grandstand for a living and are funny. But in person, your true colors show. Like, random things like, are you polite in public? Like, are you a dick to the waiter? Like, how do you behave when we're out and about? Like, are you just a chill guy? Can you hold a conversation about whatever? Or, how are you when you're hot and we're in an Uber together? Like, are you going to be a fucking baby? Like, you know what I mean? These kinds of things that are going to come up if you're homies with the person and you're traveling with the person. And if Alex passed all those tests, like you're like clearly like you could have maintained whatever image you would want to like some chick you were trying to slide into her DMs, lie to her as much as you want. You would have no moral problem with that.
Yeah, 100%. Either way, I'm glad we had the opportunity to talk a little bit about that situation. Real bummer, as Zach mentioned, we tried to get the dude on our fucking podcast. I'm kind of glad it fell through now. I'm like, it's kind of serendipitous in retrospect, because at the time we were like, oh shit, we might get Alex on the show. And now it's like, oh yeah, I'm kind of glad that didn't happen.
Yeah, fuck that guy. He doesn't seem very cool anymore. Who's laughing now? LOL overruled. Who's Loloing now?
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there. Beep, 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 beep.